She is the renowned scientist in the area of clear energy technology and is known for the leading mission innovation project in India. She is a chemical engineering by training and her alma mater is ICT Mumbai. For more than a decade at DBT, she is leading the energy, environmental and bioresource based R&D projects at DBT. She is also the nodal officer for establishing the biotech park in different states of India. Before joining DBT, she has worked the multinational biotech giant Biocon. At present, she is a scientist F in the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Today, Dr. Kasturi will share her experience on the role of R&D in context of climate change. I welcome you and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And it's my pleasure. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I'm very delighted to be part of this online training program on energy systems and carbon neutral economy. And this is which is hosted by the Ministry of External Affairs under the umbrella of Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation. I heard that this is the 8th or 9th day of training program. And I have been given the topic on the R&D initiatives to mitigate climate change. As rightly, thank you for the introduction. And as she has said, I am representing the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology. This Department of Biotechnology is the funding agency which promotes research and innovation by giving grants to various institutes, academic institutes, research institute, public-private organizations, NGOs. And also we have a support system instrument to support R&D to the private industries also and startup entrepreneurs. So subsequently in the presentations, I will talk about what are the initiatives. Our major focus has been from the Department of Biotechnology under clean energy is the bioenergy and environment biotechnology. So those R&D innovations we are promoting under that. And besides these national programs, I'm also looking at the Mission Innovation Program, which is the multilateral program. So I would share, can I share this screen now?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
Is it visible to all? Is it visible now?
Not yet. Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Right. Is it full screen? Right.
No, ma'am, it's in, we can see, it's not the full screen.
Full screen. I can. Is it now full screen? Is it full screen now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now it's full screen.
Yeah. My topic is, as said, R&D initiatives to mitigate the climate change, and I'm representing the Government of India. We all know that recently the COP26 concluded in Glasgow, and Prime Minister Modi ji already mentioned India's action plan through the Panchamrit, which are the 5 nectar elements to deal with the climate change challenges, and what are real our action plans. The first is India will take its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030. And then second is India will meet 50% of its energy requirement from renewable energy by 2030. The third, India will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now till 2030. And the fourth, by 2030, India will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by less than 45%. And the fifth is important, that by the year 2070, India will achieve target net zero. So these five nectars, five elements action plans will be the unprecedented contribution of India to the climate action. And with these actions now, every ministry and departments are here. So we'll have to work on the climate change mitigation technologies, and the government and this ministry's role is to how we can improve, how we can accelerate the innovations in clean energy so that these clean energies are made affordable and accessible for all. So there are two departments, Department of Biotechnology and Department of Science and Technology. The focus of biotechnology is to promote research and innovation in the life sciences, which covers all entire areas of the life sciences and wherever biotechnological applications are applied. At a glance, I just wanted to give you update on the biotechnology. What is the biotechnology department? It includes the risk discovery. It also promotes innovation, and also it facilitates the enterprises. There are four again vertical pillars: the capacity building, research, development, demonstration, innovation and entrepreneurship, and partnership, policy and regulations. So these are four aspects. We do have instruments and various schemes to cover all these four verticals. The capacity building is done to creating skilled human resources. There are a number of fellowship schemes available and awards. Then also these are available for postgraduates and doctorates and young scientists. And also there are instruments to promote research infrastructure for creating cutting edge technologies. So various sites across the country, the facilities, high-tech facilities have been created through this infrastructure. And with the R&D, RD&D, that is the key program where we have various R&D programs under this, right from the medical biotechnology. Under that, again, different health sectors are there. Agriculture biotechnology, energy is also one of the key programs, bioenergy. And there are also means right from fundamental to translation. All these research, this is promoted through these various schemes. DBT department does have the instruments to promote again innovation and entrepreneurship. This is to create the ecosystem, build the ecosystem, and by creating the interface, the department plays very important role as a interface to academia and industry. We do have such schemes where the private sector and public sector, they can jointly submit the project because some at certain scale, the TRL level 4 to 5, we do have research schemes. But how to accelerate this innovation in order to make these innovations translational, and where the industry plays important role. And DBT also has created new schemes which is called ATGC to accelerate research, translational research in this area. And the policy regulations are again very important role, and DBT plays a very crucial role enabling the policies and guidelines with respect to the biotechnology development, genetic modification, biosafety, biosecurity regulations, and strategic partnership with the different countries. At a glance, again, these are the ecosystems. We do have more than 16 autonomous institutes spread across 12 states. We can see the northern state, Mohali, Punjab, New Delhi, Faridabad, and towards south, Kerala and Hyderabad. Also, we have 3-4 centers. So they are working on the different thematic programs of health sector and also energy sectors, and most important areas, for example, vaccine, which was also developed in many of these institutes. So, and there are 2 public sector undertaking. It is the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, the BIRAC, which facilitates research and innovation to the industries and entrepreneurs. And there is another public sector unit called BIPCOL, that is Bharat Immunobiological Corporation, which also works on the development of drugs and vaccines. As I said, there are DBT plays very important role for the robust innovation ecosystems by nurturing human capital, by investing in physical and technological infrastructure for R&D and protection of IP. DBT does have this scheme. If, for example, if any scientists come up with the innovations and how to protect that, protecting these innovations also been facilitated. We do have the IP cell which also mentors and also takes care of some initial fees, whatever fees is required, and facilitates the patenting and all. The maintaining the stability and efficient and prediction regulatory environment, then introducing the technology transfer framework and enhancing public-private partnership. And so I just wanted to write from the capital development, that is skill development, to knowledge discovery, knowledge and translation and commercialization. All these aspects, so DBT plays important role. Through mentorship, we do have expert committees in these areas, so we facilitate, and we do play important role in interfacing in public and private. Coming to the one of the focus area which I am looking at, that is the energy bioscience and biofuels. Government of India has National Biofuel Policy, which is announced in 2018, which is the revised policy, which says that the agriculture residues, how we can replace the gasoline or diesel with the clean fuel, that is the bioethanol and biodiesel. So department has been promoting innovation in this direction in order to implement this policy. DBT has been promoting, supporting projects over the decade in the area of bioenergy, various areas of bioenergy, to make this biofuel economically viable and sustainable for decarbonization of hard to abate sector, basically. I'm sorry for that spelling mistake, but our focus has been major on next generation biofuels. And the key aspects for this energy are sustainability of biomass, then biomass development or improvement of biomass, for example, microalgae, then second generation feedstock, that is, for example, sorghum, high biomass sorghum, etc. Then drought resistant varieties, all these aspects are being taken care. Then biomass breakdown, that is the key challenge, which is also looked at. So various pre-treatment technologies has been developed in order to make this biomass amenable for further conversion. And again, there are different challenges in conversion technology with respect to the yields, cost effectiveness, all those aspects are being looked at through various innovations. There are multiple schemes. The Center of Excellence is the one of the schemes. DBT has established 5 Center of Excellence in these advanced bioenergy areas. Then we do have supported demonstration projects, pilot projects separately, independently, or in collaboration with industries. Then DBT has been promoting cutting edge research, advanced research in these areas, for example, use of how we can use systems biology, computational biology, and synthetic biology aspects, genome editing, and all those tools have been applied here. Then 4 years back, under Swachh Bharat in India mission, our department has also initiated waste energy program, where we have supported large number of demonstration projects, right, from 1 ton to 10 tons biomass and those aspects. The international cooperation is also very important, because we, though many countries are looking at aspects independently, through collaborative approach, we can also address the common challenges which otherwise we can't address those things individually. So we are also promoting international cooperation in bioenergy as well as other areas of clean energy. And as I mentioned, the capacity building that has been DBT has institutionalized a couple of schemes in order to give training and facilitating the research across the other countries. The one example was we had under the agreement with the US, we had the capacity building program with US in order to get the bioenergy awards for the young scientists and students in these areas. Coming to the biofuel policy, that is the 2018, India has announced this, and where the target was ethanol blending of 10% by 2020 and 20% by 2025. And biodiesel blending is 5% by 2030. We do have the compressed biogas target, that is 15 million metric tons per annum by 2030. There are challenges in these all aspects. That is the biomass availability. It is also scattered. Then there are different seasonal variabilities are there in the biomass. The commercial viability is less, And again, the most important is how we can have the sustainability of the biomass. So these are important in this. There is also PM, this Prime Minister Jeevan Yojana, which also gives the viability gap funding opportunities, because some of the projects are very high cost projects. For example, the 2G ethanol. 2G ethanol, those who are not aware with the bioenergy program or 2G ethanol, I just want to briefly say that the second generation ethanol, the first generation ethanol is that which is coming from the molasses, sugarcane, etc. And the second generation is what we are using the best agriculture biomass. Mostly, it doesn't conflict with the food as well as fodder. So we call this as a second generation. So now our biofuel policy is more open. They have opened up a lot of other opportunities. They are also because there is surplus production of sugar. Hence, this sugar has been utilized for conversion of this bioethanol, and which is blended in the gasoline. Currently, we have reached up to 5% across the country, and there is a target of reaching 10% by 2022 next year. So around 8% is also being targeted. So we are close to that, and with this surplus production of sugarcane and sugar, that sugar has been utilized for this purpose. And there is assured offtake because oil companies are taking this ethanol from the manufacturers, oil sugar industries, and this has been blended in the stations. So there is a assured offtake policy, and this can contribute to the mitigation, because all these are climate. Mostly they can reduce the at least 20% to 50% GHG emissions once they are implemented to the 20%, that is the target by 2030. There is also many institutional mechanisms. The policy is looked by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, whereas the Ministry of Science and Technology is looking at the R&D initiatives and how R&D innovations, how we can make these technologies, advanced technologies available for that. And Ministry of Agriculture is taking care of mostly feedstock. The key research areas in this bioenergy are like, as I listed, the cyanobacterial biofuels, where currently the IITs, those are the premier institutes of India, Indian Institute of Technologies, that one of these is IIT Delhi. Similarly, the other IITs, they are also working on the metabolics and metabolic pathway engineering for biofuel production. Algal biofuels, where we are also trying to improve the strain, how we can improve the biomass yields as well as oil content in this by using genetic modification and other approaches, growth engineering and etc. Then algal biomass processing, algal biomass processing, and then biomass to fuel conversion technologies, reactor design, etc. And also the photobioreactor design have been developed, and at large scale this has been demonstrated. But most important, I would like to highlight here that techno-economic analysis and LCA, that is life cycle analysis, these are very important for any process in order to make them sustainable and commercially viable. So those aspects are being looked at for these various technologies. As I mentioned, the Center of Excellence, these are the 5 Center of Excellence established by Government of India through this department. The first center was at the Mumbai at the Institute of Chemical Technology. The second center is a partnership center with the Indian Oil Corporation, which is the oil marketing company, and which is based in the Faridabad, which is very close to the Delhi. The third center is established at the ICGB, that is the Institute of International Center for Genetic Engineering Biotechnology, which is based in New Delhi. The fourth center is a virtual center of 5 IITs. It's the institute like IIT Delhi. There are a couple of other IITs, so which are connected virtually to work on different aspects of the bioenergy, different challenges. Almost more than 30 investigators are working together in this aspect. The fifth center is at TERI, which is also again based in Delhi. So across, besides the Center of Excellence, DBT has also supported waste to energy program, demonstration program projects to convert the organic fraction of the municipal solid waste, that is a bio waste, that is converted to energy, that is biogas or Either it is biogas and that is converted to either power, or it is then converted to used for as a cooking gas. And there are a couple of R&D projects supported, because you might have heard about leachates and all those create problems. So how to address these different issues, that those are taken care by these small innovations. Then sewage is also another challenge. There is also carbon, so also methane is generated. So those aspects are also looked at by international cooperation in the under bilateral program with Denmark and Netherlands through demonstration project. IIT Delhi is also part of this Lotus project. So I just want, in a nutshell, I just wanted to say that more than 200 projects have been supported for feedstock development, R&D, for improved conversion of technology, etc. And over the last 5-6 years, more than 600 publications, research publications have been done with, and more than 269 patents have been filed or granted. And we have created a pool of skilled manpower, more than 900 across the country. The capacity building programs were initiated in order to give the opportunity for the PhD students and young scientists. So every year, so 5 years, we have been supporting 5 PhD students and 5 young researchers were sent to the US for short-term training in the Premier Institute. And there is also another program called Bioenergy Overseas Fellowship Program, where the postdocs from India were staying abroad, they were doing, and they wanted to come back if they are interested to come back and pursue their research. So that re-entry program was also initiated, and we have supported more than 11 fellows, overseas fellows, who had come back from outside India, and they have pursued their research, and some of them also got the regular positions in different institutes. IBEC, then also we have a couple of schemes to support the competitions by how students can participate in international programs. The Indian Biological Engineering competition was also one of that, where they have come up with the novel ideas, and we wanted that the students also take interest in the research, advanced research. So that was the objective under this program. These are some of the examples where department has created facilities at different laboratories, and these are being utilized by students. And also on the website, these facilities have been listed, so that anyone across the country who wants to use this facility can access this thing. Sometimes it is with minimum charges or without charges also. These are the demonstration technologies. Some of the examples are given, all these under the energy, bioenergy areas. These are, you can see at the left hand side, this is the biogas. These are some novel technologies with improved biomethanation yield. So the important aspect that these all projects are mostly supported through the collaboration with the stakeholders. That is, we have identified the local urban bodies who can take interest. So with their help, the municipal corporations or local bodies, so they are partner in these things. So we have set up such similar plants at Hyderabad, Goa, and Gujarat, 3 places. These plants are in the range of 1 ton to 10 tons. Biomass has been converted to the biogas with improved technologies, biomethanation technologies, with improved reactor design, etc. The second is about the open raceway pond, that is for algal cultivations. We have, this is the biohydrogen and this thing. Also we have carbon capture, and these are the vertical tubular reactors, where again the sewage water is converted to clean water using the microalgae. So these are each tube contains about 200 ml. So these are series of tubular reactors are placed. So within almost 2000 liter water is cleared by algae in 1 day. I was talking about the public sector unit. It's a BIRAC, which facilitates support to the industries. So this is a public sector undertaking unit set up by department in March 2012, which nurtures industry R&D through various instruments. So these are the mostly these are in the biotech sectors, the challenging sectors. These are all grants given in different areas. of healthcare and wellness, agriculture, then industrial biotechnology, waste management, sanitation, and clean energy. And these are being done through entrepreneurship by funding grants, investment, then support given through incubation centers, mentorships, and recognition given at the national as well as global platform. So these are most of the things are being done mostly for startups, and also this takes care by early translation to pre-commercialization state. So far the total investment has been done in 335 crores. Direct contribution is about 175 crores, and more than 200 projects have been supported to 88 companies, 63 startups, and 28 entrepreneurs, and 37 academic institutes, with production of 51 technologies and intellectual property, etc. So these are done through early translation accelerator or incubator. All the support is given to different instruments. These are a couple of examples where the pilot plant have been supported at the industry in various areas. The pilot scale, you can see pilot scale facility is given for value-added chemicals and biomass, the preview organics. Then some of these are the private industries where these plants have been set up with partnerships. Some are in the loan or some are in the form of granted aid. So grant is given to these facilities. The entrepreneurship is developing startup ecosystem India has been playing very important role, and biotechnology has played a very crucial role in supporting the startup ecosystem through different mechanisms. Again, there are seed funds, ACE funds, that is given. The seed fund is given, the capital is given to startup with new and meritorious ideas and innovations and technologies. Then again, ACE fund is given about rupees 50 lakhs to 5 crores based on the requirement for any innovative technologies. And for the any social health sector and other things, there is a Soch award which is also given if there are any societal challenges. For those things also these things awards are given. Spur is also another scheme where waste to value is been given social innovation. For example, how we can develop the cooking gas with low carbon, low emissions. When through this, the various and rural sector, still many women are using the conventional biomass and wood and all those things. So these through these social innovations, many clean cooking stoves have brought up. So those could be solar or biomass based. So those innovations have been, awards have been given to good innovators in these areas under this SPUR scheme. Besides this startup scheme, the translational support is also given at early stage as well as the commercialization stage. The one of the good example is that Clean Energy International Incubator I can talk about, where under the Mission Innovation, under the public-private partnership, BIRAC and the one private industry, they have set up the Clean Energy International Incubator, where support is given to the incubators at their early stage of innovations. And this is specifically for the Clean Energy Incubator. This was set up under the Mission Innovation Program. And now these clean solutions, also this incubator is also going to expand its activity. We are trying to connect this incubator to international incubators, or also we are thinking of how these innovations can also be translated or taken to the developing countries or underdeveloped countries. So that has been the interesting area. And if there are any some suggestions or those things, so we will be able to consider those, because this is a good platform for this. Coming to the global clean energy innovation system, and Mission Innovation is the one of the important global multilateral platform which was announced during COP21 in Paris in presence of world leaders and our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, the Mission Innovation name was also coined by himself. So this is a platform where all the 25 member countries have come together and agreed to share the investment, and they also decided how we can increase the investment in R&D so that the innovations can be accelerated to make the clean energy more affordable and economical and accessible to global. This was launched, as I said, during the Paris Agreement, and these all countries, they have decided to increase, and this has happened. So this was announced over 5 years. The many countries have contributed to this investment, and this has been reached to about $35 billion, from $15 billion to more than $35 billion. So all these member countries, they had identified the innovation challenges. These are the 8 innovation challenges which were identified by all participating member countries. Smart grid innovation challenge, off-grid access to electricity, carbon capture, sustainable biofuels, converting sunlight and to storable fuels, and then clean energy materials, affordable heating, cooling of buildings, and renewable and clean hydrogen. So these were 8 challenges, and India was leading 3 challenges. That is, first is smart grid, the second was off-grid access to electricity, and the fourth one, that is on sustainable biofuels. You can see here, this is green. These 3 challenges were led by India with other co-lead countries, whereas other innovation challenges were led by some other member countries based on their priority and interest areas. So through this, over the 5 years, all member countries, including India, have supported more than 500 R&D projects, collaborative projects, or independent national projects. And through these accelerated innovations, now some of the innovations are taking late the translational and to MI phase 2, these are being translated. I was talking about this clean energy incubator. So this is a good best example of public-private partnership. With this joint funding, this incubator has been set up, and through this incubator, by scouting and supporting and mentoring, training, etc., by handholding, the incubator has given handholding to the startups to provide the support for the prototype development, as well as also to give the access to the market. So through this incubator, more than 25 clean energy solutions have come up by these different startups. One of the startups has in fact got the Earthshot Award. You can see here the Takachar, which has got the Earthshot Award, which was recognition given by the, and he was also invited during COP26. The areas covered under these innovations are smart metering, energy efficient heating and cooling systems, innovative electric vehicle solutions, bioenergy, clean cooking devices, innovative battery technologies, energy monitoring systems, and hydro turbine technologies. So it's wide range of clean energy solutions have come up through all in 25 solutions. So this has been a good success. Now through this incubator, we are trying to connect with the other international incubators. So in order to scale the innovations and connect the incubators to get global market as for India-centric solutions, as well as they can be helped. This solution can also be translated to developing or underdeveloped countries. Over the phase 1 of the mission innovation, the R&D support was given, and with these accelerated innovations and leads, now the all member countries have agreed to go for further five years commitment in the form of different missions, targeted missions, sector-wise mission. Different sectors have identified where we need to get the innovation gaps bridged in order to promote the low carbon sectors. For example, cement, steel, and chemical industries, they reduce a lot of GHG emissions are there. How we can reduce these? How energy efficiency can be improved some of the industries? Then how we can replace the conventional fuel, for example, aviation, sustainable. How we can develop the sustainable aviation fuel and improve the heating and cooling systems, etc., and the carbon dioxide removal, etc. All the different missions have been developed, and these are being led by different small coalition. These are led by some 1 or 2 member countries, and they are supported with the non-state actors convening ambitious national and collaborative innovations activity around the common goal. So these are some of the examples of missions. I am coming in the subsequent slide. I will talk about the missions which were launched during ministerial last time and during this recently concluded COP26. And there are, beside these sector-wise missions, the mission also has developed the collaborate platform in order to strengthen the R&D and sharing the knowledge. So these different platforms also being looked at in different areas. So I was talking about the mission. The India is leading the mission on in biorefinery, where we are trying to develop and demonstrate cost competitive zero waste integrated biorefineries from residues and waste by doubling the quantity of fuels, chemicals, and materials produced from sustainable biocarbon by 2030, typically produced from biorefineries. So we are trying to address the innovation gaps in order to increase the part of or reduce the fossil-based chemicals, fuels, and materials by bio-based chemicals using the agriculture residue and waste. That is the purpose. So India and Netherlands, these are the co-leads, and this is still under development. And this was soft launch was done during the COP26, and with further support from other members and countries, the vision is being developed further in order to get the outcome in within 5 years for about the target of reaching about 20% or 10% to replace fossil-based carbon to the bio-based carbon. There are a couple of missions which were launched 6 months back. Those are clean hydrogen, green powered future, and zero emission shipping. So India is partnering in these things, but these are led by some other member countries. But India is active participant of these 3 different missions. I don't want to go into the technical details or about this in the interest of time. And other 3 missions which were launched during COP26 are net zero in emission industry remote, that is led by Austria, where cost-effective decarbonization pathway are being developed for industry and development of alternative materials. And carbon dioxide removal is again led by US, Canada, and Saudi Arabia to prove the net negative greenhouse gas removal technologies. This will be developed. Innovation driven urban transition. This is it's more for the smart cities, or we can say that clean climate cities, to demonstrate reliable, affordable, and cost effective solutions in key emission sector like building, then environment, mobility, transport, and industry, etc. So all these different solutions would be provided so that all these cities can be carbon neutral in the run of next decades. The mission biorefinery, which was again focus of our department as well as India, is this aims to accelerate global transition to advanced biofuels and chemicals. Through this mission, we are trying to demonstrate new and cheaper industrial processes, technologies across the value chain of biomaterials and biofuels. And we feel that this would also progress toward establishment of self-sustaining integrated biorefinery. But here one thing is very important, that unless the industries don't get engaged, it is very difficult. So we are trying to engage more and more industries. So we, through this public-private partnership, we are trying to at least set up 3 demonstration units, 3 different platform technologies. And then after learning from the R&D, these large-scale affordable biomaterials will be used. And also we are trying to connect this with the regulatory specification and a supply chain, because supply chain is very important, and policies and market. So these will be connected to all these linkages. So this is an entire mission, biorefinery mission we are proposing. And early next year, this mission would be announced, full launch would be announced. Coming to the collaborate platforms, these were the earlier questions. So these are some of the examples of collaborate platforms. These are focused on facilitates the collaborative R&D and innovations, where more researchers from different countries can come together, and they can complement their research so that the good outcome come the accelerated way. So some of the platforms announced are on the sustainable aviation fuel, and then affordable heating and cooling of buildings, and clean energy materials. So different countries are leading this. India is leading some 2 platforms products, that is on aviation and advanced heating and cooling. The another important, which I talked about, the clean energy incubator, the clean tech exchange, this platform, this has been launched, which is designed as an international vehicle for accelerating cross-border innovation scale-up, leading to greater impact for the sustainable development goals and global climate goals. So this is to promote the startup ecosystems and connecting through this Accelerate platform. India is trying to connect the international incubators in clean energy. So again, this was launched during June. With this view, I would just conclude by saying that the clean energy innovation has a great potential in decarbonizing hard to reach sectors like aviation, then industries, marine, and all these sectors. There is a greater investment in innovation and capacity building required, and more opportunities are there for innovative solutions by startups. Again, this provides an opportunity for countries with the potential to deliver affordable products. Accelerated R&D is crucial to bridge the innovation gap for low carbon economy. And the collaboration is very important. Collaboration and innovation and translation is very important. But multilateral collaboration is very key. With this, I conclude that innovation, Prime Minister has quote, innovation no longer remains a choice, but has become an imperative. With this, I thank you all of you for your attention. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take these things. If you want, there is also dedicated website developed for Mission Innovation India unit. You can look at the Mission Innovation India. All those details are available, and for DBT, the bioenergy program details are available. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for attention. Over to you.
Dear participants, if you have any query, you can ask it now.
If there are no queries, so they can later on they can reach to me to email. So should I once again thank you? Should I log off now?
Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Sangeeta. Thank you very much for taking time out. It was on a very short notice. You agreed to deliver this talk, so we are really very privileged. And thank you for sharing the opinion. Thank you very much. And I'm sure many of I see there is, okay, people are thanking you, because I was seeing in chat there are comments coming in and they are thanking you for your talk. So thank you very much. Your email ID is there with us. And
thank you, Dr. Priyanka. Yes,
I'll certainly get in touch with you. Thank you.
Sure. I'll log off then, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dear participants, we'll resume the session from 45 minutes from now.